In just 43 seconds, one of Hollywood's most respected actresses would find herself storming off a British morning television set after what started as professional disagreement exploded into a full-blown character assassination. The confrontation between Angelina Jolie and Lorraine Kelly that aired last night has already become the most talked-about television moment of the year, with viewers witnessing a complete meltdown of civility that left both women's reputations hanging in the balance. The atmosphere in the studio was already charged before the cameras even rolled. Jolie had arrived to promote her latest directorial effort, a documentary focusing on women's rights in conflict zones. But behind the scenes, tensions were already simmering. Sources close to the production revealed that Kelly had spent the morning reviewing notes that seemed less about the film and more about Jolie's personal controversies from recent years. As the interview began, Kelly's trademark Scottish warmth felt forced, almost theatrical. "Angelina, lovely to have you back on the show," she began, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Now this new documentary of yours, it's quite ambitious, isn't it? Taking on such heavy subject matter when you've got your own, shall we say, complicated situation to deal with at home." Jolie's posture stiffened immediately. The Oscar-winning actress, known for her composure under pressure, maintained her diplomatic smile, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped the arm of her chair. "I think it's important to separate personal matters from the work, Lorraine. These women's stories deserve to be heard regardless of what tabloids might be saying about my life." "Oh, but surely you can understand why people might question your credibility on family matters," Kelly pressed, leaning forward with the predatory instinct of someone who smelled blood in the water. "I mean, your own children have been through quite the ordeal, haven't they? Some might say it's a bit rich, you championing family values abroad, while your own situation is so messy." The camera captured the exact moment Jolie's diplomatic facade began to crack. Her jaw tightened, and for a split second, viewers could see the flash of genuine anger in her eyes. "My children are not a topic for discussion here," she said, her voice dropping to a dangerously low register. "We're here to talk about women who are fighting for survival, not to satisfy tabloid curiosity." But Kelly wasn't backing down. If anything, she seemed energized by Jolie's obvious discomfort. "Well, that's all well and good. But you've made your personal life very public, haven't you? The humanitarian work, the adoptions, the very public divorce, it's all part of the Angelina Jolie brand, isn't it? You can't pick and choose when to play the privacy card." "The privacy card?" Jolie's voice carried a sharp edge now, her composure slipping further. "I've spent decades using whatever platform I have to highlight genuine issues. The fact that you're more interested in gossip than genocide speaks volumes about your priorities." The insult hung in the air like smoke from a fired gun. Kelly's face flushed red, her Scottish accent becoming more pronounced as her own temper flared. "Excuse me? I've been highlighting important issues for longer than you've been in Hollywood, sweetheart. Don't lecture me about priorities when you've turned humanitarian work into a photo opportunity." "A photo opportunity?" Jolie's voice rose for the first time, genuine incredulity creeping in. "I've spent months in refugee camps, away from my children, documenting atrocities that most people would rather ignore. How dare you trivialize that work?" "Oh, please," Kelly scoffed, her mask of professionalism completely abandoned now. "You rock up with your entourage and your cameras, spend a few days looking concerned, and then it's back to your mansion in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, real journalists are doing the actual work without the Hollywood glamour." The audience had gone completely silent, sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented. This wasn't the gentle sparring that occasionally happened on morning television. This was becoming genuinely vicious. Jolie's hands were trembling slightly now. Whether from anger or hurt was impossible to tell. "You know what, Lorraine?" Jolie said, her voice steady but carrying an unmistakable threat. "I came here in good faith to discuss important work. But it's clear you had a different agenda from the start. This ambush says more about you than it does about me." Kelly's laugh was harsh and bitter. "Ambush? You've been playing the victim card for years now. Poor Angelina, misunderstood by the media. Maybe if you actually answered tough questions instead of hiding behind your publicists and legal teams, people might take you more seriously." The comment hit its mark. Jolie's composure finally shattered completely, and for a moment, The polished actress disappeared, replaced by a woman who'd clearly reached her breaking point. But what she said next would turn this heated exchange into something far more explosive, setting the stage for a confrontation that would have both women's careers hanging in the balance. "You want to know about hiding behind legal teams, Lorraine?" Jolie's voice was ice cold now, each word carefully enunciated with surgical precision. "Let's talk about hiding. Let's talk about how you've built your entire career on fake warmth and manufactured charm, while stabbing people in the back the moment it serves your ratings." The studio fell deathly quiet. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath. Kelly's face went through several colors. First red with anger, then pale with shock, then flushed again with pure rage. "How dare you come onto my show and—" "Your show?" Jolie cut her off with a laugh that could have cut glass. "You mean the show where you've spent the last 15 minutes trying to destroy me for content? Where you've turned my children's trauma into entertainment? That show?" Kelly was on her feet now, her professionalism completely abandoned. "Don't you dare turn this around on me. You're the one who's put your family through hell, who's dragged your children through the courts, who's—" "Stop!" Jolie's voice cracked like a whip. "Stop right there. You know absolutely nothing about what my children have been through. And you sure as hell don't get to use their pain to make yourself look good." The confrontation had crossed every line of television decency. What started as professional sparring had become deeply personal, with both women now trading blows that would leave lasting damage. Kelly, perhaps sensing she'd gone too far but too invested to back down, doubled down with venom. "Oh, spare me the protective mother act," Kelly snarled. "Everyone knows what really happened. Everyone knows who the real villain is in that story. And it's not your ex-husband." The accusation hung in the air, like poison gas. Jolie stood up slowly, her movements controlled but radiating barely contained fury. When she spoke, her voice was so quiet the microphones had to strain to pick it up. But every word landed like a physical blow. "You bitter, washed-up has-been," she whispered. But the words carried across the silent studio with devastating clarity. "You're so desperate for relevance that you'll attack a mother on national television. You'll exploit children's trauma for ratings. Do you have any idea how pathetic that makes you?" Kelly's face contorted with rage. "Pathetic? You want to talk about pathetic? You've made a career out of collecting broken things, broken countries, broken children, broken men. Maybe the problem isn't the world, Angelina. Maybe the problem is you." The words hit like a physical slap. For a moment, Jolie actually staggered, and the cameras caught every second of her pain. But instead of backing down, something dangerous flickered in her eyes. When she spoke again, her voice carried the kind of cold fury that could end careers. "You know what, Lorraine? You're right about one thing. I do collect broken things, but at least I try to fix them. You just break them further for entertainment." Kelly was shaking now. Whether from anger or adrenaline was impossible to tell. "Get out," she hissed. "Get the hell off my show." "Gladly," Jolie shot back. "But first, let me tell your viewers something about their beloved host. Let me tell them about the woman who just spent 20 minutes attacking a mother and using children as weapons." The threat was unmistakable. Kelly's eyes widened as she realized Jolie was about to reveal something that could destroy everything she'd built. But instead of backing down, Kelly made the fatal mistake of escalating further. "You wouldn't dare," Kelly whispered, but there was fear in her voice now. "Try me," Jolie replied, and the two simple words carried more menace than any threat could have. The battle lines were drawn, and both women knew that whatever happened next would determine who walked away intact and who would be left picking up the pieces of their shattered reputation. The studio had become a pressure cooker about to explode. Kelly's producer was frantically gesturing from behind the cameras, trying to signal for a commercial break. But both women were locked in their deadly stare-down, completely oblivious to everything else around them. The audience sat frozen, witnessing what would become television history. Kelly made her choice first, her Scottish accent thick with venom as she leaned forward like a predator moving in for the kill. "Go on then, darling. Tell everyone your little secrets. But remember, I've been in this business for 30 years. I've got sources you couldn't even imagine. You really want to play this game with me?" The threat was crystal clear, but Jolie didn't even flinch. Instead, she smiled. a cold, calculating expression that would haunt Kelly's nightmares for years to come. 30 years of what exactly? 30 years of pretending to care while building your career on other people's misery. 30 years of playing the sweet Scottish grandmother while being a complete bitch behind closed doors? The profanity hung in the air like a bomb explosion. This was live morning television, and one of Hollywood's most respected actresses had just called Britain's sweetheart a bitch on national TV. Kelly's face went through a rainbow of emotions: shock, rage, and something that looked dangerously like panic. "You can't speak to me like that," Kelly shrieked, her voice cracking with emotion. "This is my show. These are my viewers. You're nothing but a home-wrecking, attention-seeking—" "Careful, Lorraine," Jolie interrupted, her voice deadly quiet again. "Because if we're going to talk about home-wrecking, we should probably discuss your first marriage, shouldn't we? And how it really ended?" The color drained from Kelly's face completely. Whatever Jolie was threatening to reveal, it clearly had the power to destroy everything Kelly had built. But instead of backing down, Kelly's desperation made her even more vicious. "At least I didn't drag my children through the courts for years," Kelly spat. "At least I didn't turn my divorce into a public spectacle that traumatized innocent kids. At least I know how to be a proper mother." The words were designed to wound, and they found their target. Jolie's composure cracked completely, and for the first time in the entire confrontation, genuine pain flashed across her face. But instead of breaking her, the low blow seemed to fuel her fury. "A proper mother?" Jolie's voice was barely controlled now. "You mean like how you were a proper mother when you chose your career over your own daughter? When you missed school plays and birthdays because the show was more important? Don't you dare lecture me about motherhood when everyone in this industry knows exactly what kind of mother you really are." Kelly staggered backward as if she'd been physically struck. The accusation was devastating because everyone in the studio could see from her reaction that it was true. Her carefully constructed image of the perfect work-life balance was crumbling in real time. That's not. You don't know what you're talking about," Kelly stammered. But the denial was weak, pathetic even. "Don't I?" Jolie pressed her advantage mercilessly. "Should we call your daughter right now? Ask her how she felt growing up with a mother who cared more about ratings than reading bedtime stories? Because I bet she'd have some interesting things to say about the real Lorraine Kelly." The threat was nuclear. Kelly's relationship with her daughter was the one part of her life she'd never allowed to be scrutinized publicly, and now Jolie was threatening to expose it all. The desperation in Kelly's eyes was visible to everyone watching. "Please," Kelly whispered. And for a moment, the mask slipped completely. She wasn't the confident television host anymore. She was just a terrified woman watching her life's work crumble. "Please don't." But Jolie was done with mercy. The attack on her children had crossed every line, and now it was time for retribution. "You should have thought about that before you decided to use my children as ammunition. You should have thought about that before you turned this interview into a character assassination." Kelly was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks as the weight of her mistakes crashed down on her. "I'm sorry," she choked out. "I'm sorry. I went too far. Yes, you did," Jolie cut her off coldly. "And now everyone gets to see who you really are underneath all that fake warmth and manufactured charm." The actress stood up slowly, gathering her dignity around her like armor. When she spoke again, her voice carried the authority of someone who had just won a war. "I came here to talk about women who are fighting for their lives in war zones. Instead, I got ambushed by someone who apparently thinks exploiting children's trauma makes for good television." She turned to address the camera directly, her composure fully restored now that victory was assured. "To anyone watching this, I hope you remember this moment. I hope you remember what you just saw from your beloved host. Because this is who she really is when the cameras are rolling and she thinks she can get away with it." Kelly was sobbing openly now, her career effectively over. "Angelina, please, I have a family. So do I," Jolie replied with ice-cold finality. "And you just spent 20 minutes attacking them on national television." With that, she walked off the set, leaving Kelly broken and crying in front of millions of viewers. The sound of her heels clicking on the studio floor was the only noise as she made her exit, head held high, having delivered one of the most devastating takedowns in television history. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of Kelly's complete breakdown. ensuring that this moment would be replayed endlessly across social media and news outlets. In trying to destroy Angelina Jolie, Lorraine Kelly had instead destroyed herself, and everyone watching knew they had just witnessed the end of an era.